Welcome ninjas to the Coder Dojo. How is everyone going today? So, today's session, we're going to be sending a character on an epic journey. They're going to go for a very, very long walk. I'm going to show you the animation that we're going to be making today. So, this is going to be really suitable for people who haven't used Scratch much before. So I'll probably be going into a fair amount of detail for some of the sort of simple stuff, depending on what kind of audience we get today. But there should be some opportunity to do some more complicated stuff for my more experienced ninjas. So this is kind of meant to be a silly, funny animation about this long walk, and you can see in one of the previous panels, they sort of walked down into the sea, and now the character is walking into these strange places. It all starts off normal, and then they go into a spaceship, and they go to space, and they find all of these cool things in space, like alien planets, and then it stops about here. Now, I don't normally have music and that kind of thing on the channel, but I'm gonna while we just have a few minutes while we wait for some more people to arrive to the live stream, I'm going to show you the video that inspired this. It's a really funny meme video. It's an old one, but it's a good one. I won't show you the whole thing, but I'll show you like 2 minutes of it so you get an idea of where this has come from. Hello, Jack. How's it going? Have you been keeping well? All right. So, nice to have you with us, Jack. All right, so I'm going to show you this video. So this is a video called BrodyQuest, an old meme, but a good meme, by Neil Cicierega. I don't know exactly how to pronounce his name, but he's a very cool music and video editing guy. He's made a lot of really popular and interesting things on YouTube. Hey, how's it going, AD and AJ? No problems, you're just in time. So we're going to be making our own version of BrodyQuest. So I'm going to play this, not the whole thing, and I believe you should be getting some volume from this. Hopefully it's not too loud. So it's very, very funny, silly kind of like video about this guy called Adrien Brody, who's a Hollywood actor, just going for a very long walk. And it's a very simple little animation. So you can see where I got the inspiration from. So pretty simple. He's just going through all of these sort of normal photos. And then, I think about 40 seconds in, that's when he goes down into the ocean. Yeah, here we go. And then he's walking under the ocean. So it's just kind of a bit silly. And this music as well is like so catchy. It's like one of those songs that just gets stuck in your head. Alright, comes back out of the ocean. Now he's got some friends. So you'll notice in my animation I haven't got any starfish following him around, or my character around. But you could do something like that, especially if you're a bit more further along, more advanced with Scratch. But otherwise, we'll just be... In fact, today's session might be quite short, because this should be fairly straightforward. Alright, now I might skip slightly ahead, because things sort of get a bit weird, and he sort of goes to space. And then you can watch the whole video yourself if you like. Eventually he walks into the sun. And then he comes out playing a hideous guitar, and then he kind of ascends through reality, and he takes over the universe and replaces everything with his face. It's very funny. Anyway, so there's the video. I'm gonna remind you my version of it. We just got it. It's a bit simpler, but this should actually be quite an easy coding challenge for today. Alrighty. And we can add music to this as well. I'm going to show you how to do that in the code, although probably a lot of you already know how it works. So we've got this walking, and this is the sort of just repeating over and over again. Then you go down into the sea, then you're walking underneath the sea, and then you're coming up out of the sea, and then I just tried to skip ahead as if it was a YouTube video, and of course that's not going to work. Then you go to space. Yeah, so this should be quite simple. So, oh, you can't watch today, Ms. Yeti? That's okay. Oh yeah, absolutely. AD or AJ, or maybe both of you have said talked about shooting stars. That would be a really good like meme video that you could easily make in Scratch as well. In fact, I've done a version of this where in a Coder Dojo where we all took photos of ourselves like this, just like the photo of Adrien and Brody is kind of like this. I mean, then we just made ourselves the photo of ourselves just kind of do like this, and then it was actually us walking around, and that was very funny. But seeing as it's going to be easier just to animate a character, I think, for this live stream. Okay, so what I'm going to do is bring this across here. Let's bring this back. Nice. Okay, so if you haven't used Scratch before, then all you need to do is type in Scratch into Google. I think it's mostly the usual crowd today. There was a few people on Facebook who were saying they wanted to come along to the live stream, who hadn't done much coding before, so we might get them a little bit later. And I will probably be doing some stuff that's a bit I'll be sort of giving some of the basic instruction, so that this is a good place to start if you've never used Scratch before. So you type in Scratch into Google, like I was saying before, and then the first option that comes up should be Scratch, Imagine, Program, Share. That's the one that you want. You click on that one, and then you click in the top left corner where it says Create. Now that should bring you through to this screen, and this is how we do our Scratch coding. We've got all of our lines of code along the left side. We've got all of our sprites in the bottom right corner, and we drag code out from the lines on the left, and you can connect them up, and thus you can create these long sequences of instructions that do different things. And you can move them around, and you can change what's inside them. And code goes specifically into sprites, which are like these little cartoon characters. And you can see we've only got the one. We've got this cat here. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to delete this cat sprite. So we're going to click on the little X in the bottom right corner, just above where it says Sprite 1. Once you click on that little cat, Sprite 1, click the little X, the trash can, it should disappear. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go to the bottom right corner, hover over the little cat face symbol where it says Choose a Sprite, and we're going to click on that, Choose a Sprite. Now you've got a few different options. You can have a look through. Now, if you hover over these different sprites, you'll see all of their different animations. And you'll see that a lot of them, well, some of them at least, have walking, if they have a walking animation. So you can look for sort of a character that would be a good to animate. I'm going to be using Avery walking. You could even use bear walking if you wanted. If you wanted a cool little adventure from the bear, and as I said, you just need to hover over. Maybe dog 2 would work as well. That kind of looks like it's walking. And you can hover over all these different characters. Oh yeah, Giga Walking could work. So you could even, in the top left corner, type in walking, and you could find, oh yeah, look, you could do a unicorn if you wanted. Unicorn running, Pico walking, Giga walking, bear walking. I'm going to choose Avery walking. And you can change this later as well. So, once we've got our Avery walking character, first thing that we're going to do is we're going to put some code that moves Avery from the left side of the screen to the right side of the screen. Nice and simple. So first of all, let's go to, if you look on the left side of the screen, you should see events, all these different colors on the left, all with names, are different categories of code. If you click on events, it'll take you to all these yellow codes, which are all event codes, and you'll see that the first event code is when green flag clicked. Now if you drag that out, like I was showing you earlier, into the middle, we've now got our first line of code, and that's inside our Avery walking sprite. So this means that this code is going to run once the game starts, because this green flag up in the top right corner that I'm hovering over here, when we click that, that starts the game. In our case, this is an animation, not a game, our program. All right, so first thing that we're going to do is we're going to get Avery to move, to make sure that they start off in the right place. We want them to start off right on the left side of the screen. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to top left corner and click on motion. And then we're going to look down the list of codes there. I'm going to look for go to X, and then it'll have a number, and then Y, and then a number. It's like the 5th blue code in our motion category. Drag that out and connect it up to the bottom of when green flag clicked. Okay? So, these coordinates here, I'm gonna explain these a little bit. I'm gonna explain them by bringing up a certain backdrop. You don't need to do this, and all the regular ninjas already know how this works. So don't worry, guys, it won't take too long to do this. But basically, every spot on this screen that runs our animation, our game, our program, has coordinates. Now, you need 2 coordinates to know where any spot is. So if you're in this spot has some coordinates. The center of Avery occupies a place somewhere here that has an X coordinate and a Y coordinate. The X coordinate is how far left or right is Avery, and the Y coordinate is how low or high is Avery, is this sprite. And so this is a way of controlling where your sprites are on the screen. So if you change the X coordinate, they move left or they move right. If you change the Y coordinate, they move up or they move down. And all the coordinates, all the numbers that correspond to every single pixel on this particular screen are written here in the grid backdrop. So the furthest right you can go is X 240. If X is 0, then you're in the middle of the screen, and then you have minus numbers that go all the way down to minus 240 that take you over to the left side of the screen. So you can see here, there's 100 here, 200 here, and then this is about 240. You can see all the different X coordinates. And then if you know the X coordinate, you know how far left or right they are, and if you know the Y coordinate, you know how far up or down they are. And the highest Y coordinate is 180, the lowest is minus 180, and 0 is always the middle. So if you don't understand plus numbers and negative numbers, don't worry too much. Just take note of the coordinates that I use, or have an experiment. When you move characters around, on the screen, you always know their coordinates because they're written right here where I'm wiggling my mouse. In the middle right of the screen, you've got an X. So for example, right now where Avery is, X is -78, Y is -61. If you ever want Avery to go to this exact spot, you just code it so that you put code in that says, send Avery to X -78, Y -61, and they will go back to this exact spot. You can do that with any spot on the screen. So like this spot here, X91, Y60. So the X and Y control where they are on the screen. Now I know this is stuff that some of my more regular ninjas know pretty well, but it always bears remembering because it's something that it still takes a bit of time to get used to, takes a bit of time to learn. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to make sure that Avery goes to the left part of the screen. So what we're going to do is we're going to put into our code. So if you were doing other things while I was explaining that, everyone come back now because we're going to do some more coding. So we should have in our code for Avery when green flag clicked, and then go to X a number, Y a number. So the numbers that I found that I quite liked. So go to X -240. That should be really far left. And Y, how high or low Avery is. Now you can change this a bit if you want, but I found that I quite liked -30. So now, if you click on this green flag, Avery, even if you move Avery around, Avery will go back to this spot. Okay? So, what we're going to do now is we are going to create some code that moves Avery from the left side of the screen to the right side of the screen. All right, so let's, and also just in case you want to, oh no, we'll come back to that later. So the next thing that we need to do is what we're going to do is we're going to create a block of code and we're going to give it a name. So what we're going to do is we're going to go down to the red category called My Blocks. This is a really good way of creating a series of code that does the same thing and that we can give a name and that we know what it does. So we're going to make a block. So once you've clicked on My Blocks, the red category, then in the top left corner, click Make a Block. And it's going to ask you, what's the block name? We're going to call this Walk Sideways, because that's what this code is going to do. Now, you should have this little define walk sideways that appears. And in the top left corner, you should also have a little red walk sideways. If you drag this down, and put it underneath our go to X and Y, we should have now some code. So whenever we run this line, this little thing that says walk sideways, it will run everything that's underneath define walk sideways. So basically, what you've done is you've made a little block that can contain a bunch of code. And then you can use this little block every time you want to use that big bit of code. It's like a shortcut. There might be better ways of explaining it, but hopefully that makes sense. So we need to decide what walk sideways does. So what we're going to do is we're going to go up to the top left corner into the blue category motion. Click on motion, and then look down until you find glide 1 seconds to X number, Y number. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's the 7th blue code. Drag that out, glide 1 second, drag that out, and put it underneath define walk sideways. What this will do, I don't use glide very much in a lot of the projects that we've done before, but in this case, it's going to sort of be quite nice. this will glide Avery to another position. So what we're going to do is we want Avery to go all the way to the right side. What is the rightmost point of our screen? If negative 240 is the leftmost point of the screen, what is the rightmost point of the screen? Put your answers in chat, my more experienced ninjas. If you don't know, that's fine. Hold tight, I'm about to tell you. So once you put in your glide 1 second to X number, Y number, click on next to where it says X. I'm going to type in 240. Yes, Jack, quite correct, 240. Now, we want Avery not to go up or down. So if their starting position is Y minus 30, then let's make the ending position also Y minus 30. And then that way they won't go up and they won't be going down. So let's see what this looks like. Let's click on Go. Okay. And you can keep clicking on it. That's a bit fast. So let's slow it down. Let's click on the glide 1 second. Let's click on that 1 and type in 3. Yeah, cool. Now we haven't animated Avery yet, but we'll come to that later. So click on that green flag and Avery will move from one side to the other. Cool. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to repeat this walk sideways. And we are going to to do that, we're going to go to Control. So that's the orange category on the left, Control, and then look for the second code that we've got there, the second code line, and it's called Repeat 10, and it's got a space in the middle. Drag that out, and what you can do is if you put the Repeat 10 part slightly above walk sideways, and then let go, the walk sideways will be inside the repeat. So now we can, if we click on Go, in fact, actually, we haven't finished our walk sideways yet. But what this will do, this will repeat walk sideways 10 times. It will do everything that we ask of it from walk sideways, and then do that 10 times. So let's add some more code underneath define walk sideways. So let's send let's go to looks, the purple category, second category in the top left corner, looks, and then look for a code called next backdrop. I'm going to explain this in a bit more detail in a second, but for now, just look for next backdrop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's the 8th looks code. Drag that out and put it underneath glide 3 seconds. And then, once you've done that, once you've dragged out next backdrop, because that's what's going to change the background of the screen to it looks like Avery is walking from one place to another, just like in BrodyQuest. Then, what we're going to do is we are going to send Avery back to the left side of the screen. So, my ninjas who've been here before, you can, what line of code do we need to put in to send Avery back to the starting position? While we're doing that, I'm just going to check up on chat. Alrighty. So Jack Fisher asks, can you have your Y different like mine, which is minus 110? Yes, you can. If your Y is minus 110, your character will be lower. Because remember, the Y controls how high or low your character is. So if I had Avery at minus 110, Avery would look like this. they'd be a little bit lower on the screen. Yes, and Falcon Fab Lab Coder Dojo says you can also duplicate the code, this here, the go to x minus 240, y minus 30. So we want to do that. We want to get our go to x, and this is in motion. We look for go to xy, go to x number, y number, drag that out. And we need to make sure that the starting position is the same. So negative 240, y is, for me, minus 30. And if you're using a different sprite to me, then you might, like Jack, you might have changed the y coordinate so that they're higher or lower. That's fine. Okay, so now this walk sideways that we're going to repeat 10 times should do three things. First, it glides Avery from one side to the other. Then it makes the backdrop change. We don't have multiple backdrops yet, but we're about to. Then it sends Avery instantaneously, not glide, it sends them immediately back to the left side of the screen. Let's hit go and see what it does. So it slides Avery, then they go flick. Now I've got two backdrops. I've got the grid backdrop and the white backdrop. And so that's good, right? It's repeating 10 times. Cool. So let's take a bit of a break from coding, and let's make some backdrops. So in the bottom right corner, click on Choose a Backdrop. Bottom right corner, click on Choose a Backdrop. Now you've got a bunch of different options here. You can look through all of them. We want to select probably 10 if you want, different backdrops. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm first going to have a lot of very normal looking backdrops, and that's as my first 10. And then after we code Avery to go down into the sea, I'm going to have some underwater backdrops, and then I'm going to make things a bit weird. You can do it in whatever order you like, and you can change this order later. So basically, once you find a backdrop that you like, so I like the bedroom as my first backdrop, brilliant. And if you have, so on the right side, in the right middle of the screen, right at the right side of the screen, you should see something that says stage, and then there's a little tiny picture of your backdrop of your game, your animation, your program, and then backdrops and a number. If you click on that, it should sort of highlight in blue, and then in the top left of the corner of the screen, you should see there's an option to click on backdrops, and you can see all of the different backdrops that you have. So if you ever are confused about coordinates, you can get this backdrop, which is called the XY grid. And if you ever want to get rid of a backdrop, then you just select the backdrop from this list on the left side, and you click that little X to get rid of it. So I'm going to get rid of this XY grid, but if you ever want to get it, you should find it in here, and if you don't see it, yeah, it's at the bottom. You can also do searches. You can also type in grid and find it that way. So everyone, we're going to be adding in 10 backdrops, I think. We may even need 11, to be honest. So I've got the bedroom. Let's choose the next one. Let's choose something. Here we go. This one, urban. And so the other thing that you can do, so in the bottom right corner, you can click on choose a backdrop. But if you're already in this backdrops screen where you can see all of your backdrops, you can also click on the bottom left corner to choose a backdrop and add more in. All right, let's choose mural, and let's choose this bench. Yeah, the basketball court. I like that one. What else? What's everyone else choosing? Let me know in chat. All right. What are some other kind of city ones? I like this pathway. This one, actually. I quite like this one. This picture of a city, metro. Oh, playground. I quite like that one, actually, yeah. So yeah, and you don't have to be choosing the same ones as me. I'm purposefully not telling you which ones to choose because you should, make that decision. Let's see. What about this wall? Yeah, sure. And let's see. Let's get this room one. I quite like. Yeah. All right, and so I've now got 10 backdrops. And what you can do is you can see the order of them. You've got a number in the top left corner of all of them, and you can click and drag them to move them up and move them down so that they're in the order that you want. So the first one I've got is the bedroom, then I'm gonna have them go to the room, so it looks like they're walking out of their house. And then, where's the city one? I get the metro one. Yep, I like that. And then let's do the mural one. Actually, let's do the basketball one, then the mural one. Oh, let's do the playground, then the basketball, then the mural. Let's do the wall. And then the bench, and then the pathway. So, you guys can choose whatever order you like, whatever backdrops you like. And there's even, if you're new to Scratch, there's even ways of just putting in your own image files that you get from the internet. We won't go into that today, though. We're just going to use the preset ones. Okay, so I hope you guys had fun choosing out a bunch of different backdrops. I'm just going to catch up on chat, make sure everyone's okay. Oh, Jack, choose 11. So just have 11 backdrops. I've got, yeah, let's have 11, shall we? Which one haven't I chosen? Let's do... Why not? I'll put another room. Drag that up here. So there, to there, to there, and out. All right, cool. So everyone, if you've got 11 backdrops, that's great. If you don't, there's an easy way to adjust your code, so don't you worry. All right, so we've got a nice order for our backdrops. There's one thing that we need to do. So click back on Avery. In the top left corner, make sure you've selected code. So top left corner, I'm going to go back to looking at the code, not looking at the costumes, not looking at the backdrops, looking at the code. And then make sure that you click back on Avery, and now you should be back to the code that we've put into Avery. So, one thing that we need to do is we need to make sure that we start on the right backdrop, because Scratch will remember the last backdrop that we had on the screen, and we need to make sure that we start on backdrop number 1 at the beginning of the game. So, to do that, look in the top left corner, click on Looks, and look for a line of code that says switch costume to, not switch costume to, that's something else. Switch backdrop to. Switch backdrop to, drag that out, and where should we put this? If you already know the answer, put your answer in chat. If you don't, hold tight, I'm about to tell you. This needs to go at the very beginning of the game. So at the very beginning of the game, when green flag clicked. Put this right underneath when green flag clicked, and you should be able to squeeze it in right underneath when green flag clicked. So make sure that you know which is your first backdrop. So my first backdrop, they all have names. If you look on the left side in the backdrop screen, they all have names. The first backdrop that I've got is called Bedroom 3. That's where I want to start. So I'm going to go back to Avery's code, and I'm going to make sure that when green flag clicked, switch backdrop to Bedroom 3. And it may even be in the correct order. Maybe. Yeah. So, Bedroom 3. All right. So, let's hit go. And let's see if this works. Cool. So we should go through all of the different backdrops. See Avery. Sliding across there. Cool, and you get to the last backdrop and Avery stops. So Jack was asking, should we be using 10 backdrops or 11 backdrops? If you want to change the number of backdrops that you're using, what you need to change is just this repeat here. Just basically, this is however many, you just change this number. You start off on a backdrop, and then if you change that 10 times, you need 11 backdrops. So you can just change this number here where it says repeat 10. If you want to have fewer backdrops, you make the number smaller. If you want to have more backdrops, then you make the number bigger. All right, so we're going to put in some stuff to make Avery go down into the ocean in a bit. But first, let's do some animation for Avery. So let's animate it so that Avery is looking like they're walking like this. And let's also, what's the word? Let's also make them kind of bob backwards and forwards. So if your sprite doesn't have multiple costumes, you don't have to do necessarily this section. So if you click on costumes in the top left corner, you should see all the costumes that your sprite has. And you'll notice this is basically the same as the backdrop screen. And you can see all the different costumes, and you can see that all these different costumes, if we switch through them relatively quickly, it looks like Avery is walking. So that's what we're going to do, is we're going to, just the same as we're going next backdrop, we're going to be going next costume in a different bit of code to make it look like Avery is walking. Okay, so what we need to do now is we need to go to Events. So if you've been working on your backdrops, then just leave that there because we're going to do some more coding. Everyone follow me, we're going to do some more coding. Click on Events and drag out when green flag clicked. This is all in the Avery code. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get a forever. So click on Control, the orange category, and look for forever. It looks very much like a repeat, but repeats only go for a certain number of times. Forevers go as long as the program is running. So we're going to just do some stuff to make it look like Avery is walking. So what I'm going to do is grab out a repeat 10 and put it inside the forever. This is going to be, what we're going to do, we're going to use this to make Avery tilt slightly, like this. And then we're going to grab out another repeat 10 and put it right underneath the first repeat 10. So this is what you should have right now. You should have when green flag clicked, forever, repeat 10, it's currently empty, repeat 10, right underneath. Now make sure that your repeat 10 is not inside the other one. We need one to happen, and then the next one to happen. If you put this inside, then it will do something different. So make sure that it's like this, make sure that one of them hasn't been sucked into the other, make sure that there's 2 gaps. Repeat 10, repeat 10. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go to Looks, the top left corner, purple category. We're going to look for Next Costume. This is going to be very similar to Next Backdrop, only it's going to change Avery's costume. Drag out Next Costume and put that right in between the repeats. So drag that right in between the repeats, not in those gaps inside the repeats, put it in between them. So you can see how I've got it on my screen here, drag it out. And then drag out another next costume and put it right before the end. So underneath our second repeat. Okay. So these repeats, what we're going to put inside them is we're going to put a turn inside each of them. So go to motion, have a look for turn 15 degrees. Jack Fisher says, help! And I'm not sure what you need help with. I said already, 11 backdrops is good, so you've got to tell me what you need help with, Jack. Also, Jack, if you are on Scratch, click Share, this orange button, Share, and let me know what your Scratch name is, and I might be able to look you up, to look at your code. So, until you do that, I can't help you, Jack. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to grab turn 15 degrees. So AD says, Jack has been asking for help, but I've already answered the question, Jack. I said that it was 11. 11 backdrops. I already answered that one. So if there's a new... Your character is not moving. Okay. Well, so as I said, Jack, if you can tell me your Scratch name, I can look up your... That's it. We got it. Got there in the end. One thing I forgot to mention at the beginning of this session is remember there is a latency, there is a delay. Katie Man. All right, let's have a look. This one. See inside. Right. So, what is not working with this, Jack? Is they're not going back to the left side, are they? And remember we explained what line of code sends them back to the left side. It's this, go to X, Y. Now remember how coordinates work? 240, where is that? Is it the left side or is it the right side? What you need to do is click on go to X 240 and change it to minus 240. And then it will be fine. There we go. Okay, Jack, all sorted. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to we're going to go back to this piece of code. So we're continuing on, everyone. We fixed Jack's problem. We're good to continue. So have a look under when green flag clicked. We've got forever, repeat 10, and nothing inside it. Let's look in motion, the top left corner, the dark blue category. Grab turn degrees. And we're going to, and so drag that, so you should see there are two different turns. One's a turn one way, and the other turn is the other way. So the first one is technically clockwise, the second one's anti-clockwise. If you don't know the difference between clockwise and anti-clockwise, don't worry too much. All you need to know is that one of them goes one way, one of them goes the other way. You just look at that little curly arrow. So we need to drag out one of them into the first gap inside our repeat, and that's going to make them twist one way. And then we need to bring out the other way, the other turn. So they need to be two different turns going in two different directions. And also 15 degrees is too much. Let's change that to 1 degree. And this should make them nicely tilt backwards and forwards like this. All right, so let's test that. And if you wanted, you could up the repeats to make them tilt a bit more. So we've got repeat 10 and repeat 10. You could change them both to 15 if you wanted. And they'll just tilt a little bit more. But I quite like that effect. Now originally, of course, the video, if you saw it at the beginning, for BrodyQuest, all there is the tilting, because he's a photo. He never moves like this. He just tilts like this. So yeah, you could take a photo without any animation and have them just tilt like this. Okay. How's everyone going? All working? Any problems? So, we should have our character nicely walking. We've got the backgrounds nicely changing. We should have enough time to code in we've got walk sideways. Let's create walk down and walk up so that we can have the character go into the sea and come out of the sea. So Jack, if your person is moving around in a circle, I can already tell you what's wrong. You've got the rotations are not equal. So you've got them rotating too far in one direction and not far back in the other direction. So have a look at your code. You should have a repeat of 15 turn degrees 1 in one direction, then next costume, repeat 15 turn degrees 1 in the other direction. Look at those arrows, Jack. Very important that they are different turns. That one goes that way and the other one goes that way. So, Falcon Fab Lab asks, is if they end up rotated in like a weird amount, like they end up like here, can we reset the rotation? Yes, we can. So let's say that we've got this problem. They're sort of rotated too far around. Let's go to the beginning of the code and let's set them to have a starting rotation, a starting direction. So let's look in motion, the dark blue character, dark blue category. Let's look for one called point in direction 90. Drag that out, put it right underneath when green flag clicked. And then we can decide which direction that they're pointing at the beginning of the code. So everyone, just do that with me. You've got to go to motion, the dark blue category, drag out point in direction 90. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's the 8th dark blue code, the 8th motion code. Point in direction 90, drag that out, put it underneath when green flag clicked, right underneath it, point in direction, and then the default direction is usually pointing to the right, so the number is 90. So you can type in, if you understand degrees, a number, but if you click on the number, you can also just drag this very handy little wheel around and decide where they start. So if you just select it so that it's pointing 90, I believe it should be pointing directly up. You could even do something kind of fancy and point them 80 if you wanted. So if you have this underneath when green flag clicked pointing direction 80, then they should be nicely pointed up. Now I'm going to check on Jack's project. Let's refresh. Jack, you've done something wrong. Remember, I told you, you have to check your repeats and your turns to make sure that they are equal. But here you've got repeat 10 as the first repeat and only repeat 1 as the second repeat. So all you need to do is change that second repeat to repeat 10. So now they shouldn't be rotating around, and if you did what I just said earlier, you just got to grab out a point in direction 90 from motion. That's point in direction 90. It's the 8th dark blue code in motion, and put that right underneath when green flag clicked, and then should be very nice there. All right. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to challenge you all. So to work on this in your own time, if you want. You don't have to, obviously. This is my challenge for you, to see if you can do some cool stuff to happen after the first 10 backdrops, or first 11 backdrops, I should say. So after we've got repeat 10, walk sideways, after that, have a think about what code you could put here to make them glide downwards, and you can have some backdrops that sort of make it look like they're walking down into the sea, and then having them walk across the bottom of the ocean, and then having them come up. I'm going to show you my code, and what I'll do is I'll post this original project is the one that I'll link to, so you can see how I did it. But yeah, I have that's a little bit of a challenge for you, so you can see maybe how you would do some variation on this. So keep a close eye on, see what's about to happen. So this is my original. I haven't shown you how to do this one step by step. Okay, you ready? You ready? Everyone's watching? We go down. And then we walk across underneath the ocean. We keep walking across underneath the ocean. And we come up again. Now, so this is what my code looks like roughly. Again, I'll link this to you, so don't stress. Just come back and look at the comments. In fact, I'll share this now. Why not? I'll put a link in the comments of this YouTube video as well, so that you can see how you can what's the word I'm looking for? How you can expand your animation. And you can see over here, we've got the sort of story. We've got this walking sideways 8 times, then we walk down once, then we walk sideways 2 times, then we walk up, then we walk sideways 5 times. So this is kind of like the whole story laid out. And I've got all my definitions, my define walk down, define walk up, define walk sideways. And they're all very similar. There's just a few little extra bits in there. So have a bit of a look at that in your own time and see how it works. Oh, let's have a look. Cool, Trish. How's everyone else going? Did anyone else have any issues? Let's have a look. It might not be published. Coultrish may not have published hers. Or theirs, I should say. All right. So, because you said yours has stopped tilting. It's Reese today. Fair enough. Fair enough. So, shall I look you up differently on the? Yeah, Reese. No problems, Reese. So Reese, what's your Scratch account? Can I look you up under the Scratch account? Also, how did Yo-Yo Cake go? AD and AJ, are you guys still here? Need any help? Dave, TB. All right, cool. And you did say that before in your earlier comment. Aha! Found it. Got you, Reese. No problems. Okay, so let's have a look-see. And you stopped tilting. How interesting. Repeat 20. Turn degrees. Curious. The next costume's working okay. Ah, wait a second. Right. Reese. There is a code called set rotation style. And for whatever reason, somehow, Avery has been set to rotation style left-right, which prevents them from rotating aside. So all you need to do is look in motion, look for set rotation style, grab that, and put it underneath when green flag clicked, so it happens at the beginning of the game, and click that little white triangle, so that you've got all around. And that should fix it. Okay, Reese? So, yeah, because what actually happens is if you sort of double-click on these codes on the left, it will do the thing that the code does. It's like if I click move 10 steps like this, they actually move. So I think what happened is you may have accidentally brushed the set rotation style left-right code, and then it activated. So you just need to set it back to set rotation style all around. All right. Well, I think that is all good. And let's check in on Katie Mans. Let's reload. Or Catty Man. Oh, this is looking great. Good job, Jack. This is very good. Sweet. Very, very cool indeed. Well done, everyone. You've done an excellent job today. In fact, let's give you some hearts and stars. Let's have a look-see. Heart and star. Well done, everyone. Hope you've had fun. I know it was a bit of a simple one today. We still ran into a few problems, which was kind of interesting. And hopefully it's all beginning to make sense about how the coordinates work, how minuses and how negative numbers and positive numbers are different, and how you can check your own code to see where things have gone wrong. So on Thursday, we're going to do a spooky, scary episode. We're going to do something quite interesting. I'm going to show you how to make a working torchlight and darkness in a Scratch game. We're not going to make necessarily a complete game, but I'm going to show you how you can make a working a character who has a torch that lights up a certain part of the game, and the rest of it's all dark, using only Scratch code, not using anything pre-made. So that should be really interesting. Should be a lot of fun. No problems, Jack. You are welcome. So yeah, we're doing that on Thursday. Now, just one thing I need to say, we're dropping down to twice a week for these streams. So next week, we're going to be doing Tuesday and Thursday at 4 p.m. And that's going to be going like that for a while, and then probably we'll drop down a bit further because I'm going to be running these in the library that I work for in the Futures Labs there. As we're able to do these physically again. But we want to keep doing some of these streams, so we'll always keep doing them, but we will be doing less of them in the future. But for now, we're still doing 2 a week. So next week, we're going to be Tuesday and Thursday. AD or AJ's, why are you going to bring Halloween early? Ha 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 ha! It's my evil plan. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. So if you like spooky, scary games, you'll have a cool piece of code to build one. So until I see you guys on Thursday for our spooky, scary skeleton game, remember, everyone, stay awesome, be cool to each other, and take care of yourselves. We'll see you next time, ninjas.